Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. I'm joined with a bald brother today, Mr. Kaz. And how are you doing today, Mr. Kaz?
I'm doing pretty good, man. How are you?
Yeah. I'm digging the bald head look. I wonder who's be objective, like who's rocking it better, me or you?
Oh, definitely me, of course.
We both have pretty good shapes for our heads. So that being said, I want to thank you very much for joining me today. Can you tell me where you're calling out of?
Oh, me? I'm in Ohio.
Really? Like Midwest? That's
Yeah.
Midwest. All right. Well, yeah, thank you very, very, very much for joining me today. I got a chance to check out something that you were recently involved with. So I really liked your performance. So I thought, hey, why not have this guy on? So yeah, you were very gracious to accept. And so before we get started, though, I like to do a friendly fire round just to get the conversation rolling. So you ready for that?
Yep, let's do it, man.
Okay. All right. So what would be the number one video game you would not want to live in, like in fear of dying or something?
The number one video game I would not want
to live in
because of
terrifying
or for any reason, right?
Monsters. Yeah, any reason.
I'm just gonna say, because I haven't done a lot of thinking about this before.
These are ridiculous questions.
Pokemon. I don't want to live in Pokemon.
Some of these questions are obscenely, obnoxiously ridiculous. But yeah. Okay, who's your favorite boxer?
My favorite boxer. Ooh.
Yeah.
My favorite boxer. I'll be honest with you. I'm not into sports.
Okay. MMA.
So, yeah.
No. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Okay. Top 3 rappers of all time. It's all good.
Tupac, Notorious B.I.G., and
it's always everyone's too.
I guess Eminem.
Eminem, yeah, you can't go wrong there. All right, and here we go. Favorite scary movie?
Favorite scary movie? Ooh,
yeah,
that's really tough. I guess in terms of the scariest scary movie. Okay, so I'm gonna just say for nostalgia, okay? Because when I was a kid, what scared me when I was a little kid, right, was Pumpkinhead and Hellraiser.
Oh yeah, I remember that one. Yeah,
those two. So I guess Hellraiser, the original Hellraiser was yeah.
Any chance you've ever seen Insidious?
Which one?
Insidious,
yes, that's a good one.
Yeah. I went and saw that movie in the theaters, and here I live in South Korea, and they show movies at like 2:00 in the morning. They start at 2:00, like at 4:00. So as it was, I was already a bit tired, but that movie scared me so much I literally yelled in the movie theater. So yeah. All right, here goes another ridiculous question. I took a girl to see The Ring too. She was squeezing my arm so much, like she was like cutting off circulation to my arm.
That's a good one.
All right, this is probably the stupidest question you're ever going to hear, but if you're in charge of the torture department of the CIA and you had to play a song on loop to torture someone, what song would you want to be? What would you play?
Oh, yeah. I remember this one from your other podcast. This is a good question.
I cycle through some questions.
I'm going to try really hard not to steal the answers that your other guests gave, because they gave some really good answers.
Yeah.
Let's go with damn, Call Me Maybe is a really good answer, man.
Hey, I'll tell you which one would totally get the job done. Is you ever been rickrolled? Rickrolling would definitely get the job done. It's called Never Gonna Let You Go by Roy Ashley or something. Yeah. That would
Never Gonna Let You Go.
Yeah. Any terrorist would go down with that song. But okay, here we go. Yeah. So real quick, can you tell me, because I recently saw you on Modern Day Debates. You were doing a Black Hebrew atheist and a Christian debate. And can you tell me how you got involved with Modern Day Debates for about how long?
How long? I'm not sure how long. Several months, maybe a year by now. I'm not sure. But James, he always says on his debates, if you want to reach out to him on his email, if you want to do a debate, go ahead and shoot him an email. So I did that a long time ago, and I got a debate set up at some point. Did that, it went well, and then I just decided to go ahead and keep on reaching out to him and offer my help. That's pretty much how it went.
You will find out momentarily. You will find out momentarily. Just wait. I gotta say, so try not to use profanity on here, but I will say that was a real big shit show. It was a one-on-one debate, and these guys were like going at each other pretty hardcore.
Yeah, they were.
You're sitting there. It's amazing. You had your composure. You're sitting there just kind of like looking down most of the time, letting them go at each other. So, but anyway, I do want to. I don't have a lot of time because I'm going to Seoul today to do some work. But so I'll be leaving in about 2 hours. But I do want to ask you, get into these questions. But before I do, real quick, if you could tell me where you rate on a Dawkins scale.
On the Dawkins scale. Oh yeah.
7 being like Gnostic atheist.
I am an agnostic atheist, I believe. Yeah.
So about a 6.
Yeah.
Yeah, a 7 would be a Gnostic atheist who knows that there's not a God. Which I don't know how you'd know that, but
I'm pretty close to that. I'm pretty damn close to that.
So you're closer to a 7 than you are a 6. Would you say 6.5?
So
6.5?
Yeah. 6.6.
Okay. Wow, that's even higher. Okay, how long have you been an atheist for?
At least since 2013, I'd say, maybe 14.
And just real quick, what do you use to bick your head? I mean, I use Bic, but what do you use?
Harry's.
All right.
I have a Harry's razor.
All right, there we go. All right, so here we go. Let's get right into these. Did you take a look at the thumbnail I made, by the way?
No, I didn't. I'm so sorry.
It's a total.
Yeah, I did just now. I looked at it when
I
shared it. I shared it on Twitter just now a minute ago.
It's like an obnoxiously like Christian versus atheist, but with like some kind of super characteristic like comic book in the background. But anyway, this is not going to be a debate like that. It's going to be actually trying to understand a little bit more about debate because you have a lot more experience in that than I do. I like to have conversations. So, but I do want to get into some of the meat and potatoes behind some of the debates that go on these days. But in your opinion, what is the meaning or purpose of debate?
So I think that it's really about getting people to juxtapose their ideas against each other in a crucible kind of way, where the best ideas have a chance to battle each other in a way. It's about getting the idea packaged and then put against another idea in a hopefully equally well thought out package, and so you can see them go at each other in some kind of way like that,
But I this is a serious question too. But do you think most of the time, you said ideas, but do you think most of the time it comes down to person versus person?
Yeah, see, you're right. I see your point there. I know, like, it doesn't usually go down like that, but I think that is the purpose of it. I think that it's just that people being egotistical like we are and narcissistic like we are, we we pollute it in that way. But it is up to us as conscientious beings to try to limit that as much as we can.
To mitigate that. Right. So, I mean, that's good that you say that. I think you just, very good. You just say people, as Christians, I know that that's my inclination. And I see Christians who will, one, they'll tolerate really abusive behavior in debates, one. And then two, even when their guy gets beat, they'll still say that he won, because you have such a bias. And that's why if you're talking about ideas, I'm like, well, don't really most people already go into a debate already with their mind made up and they're kind of looking for some confirmation or whatever? I mean, I used to do that sometimes whenever I was an atheist myself, because I'm a Christian. Someone asks, what are you? I'm a Christian. But whenever I was kind of like trying to tip my toes back into Christianity, I would go watch, like, William Lane Craig.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would go watch that guy because I would see him manhandling a lot of atheists, and that kind of like, oh, okay, maybe a boost up, like maybe I could come back to this, and then I'd dip my feet in it for a little while and get back out. So it was, yeah, you can definitely look for stuff, you know. Like I was watching those debates with a very specific reason in mind, and wasn't really so much about trying to come to a conclusion, you know.
Yeah, yeah, I
So
get it. Like when I listen to William Lane Craig, I'm looking for the best person, the
mhm.
most capable person of putting forth a Christian argument, so that I can hear the steelman of Christianity. You know, I want to hear the best argument I possibly can hear, so that way, if Christianity is true and anybody's going to make the argument for it, I'm thinking it's going to be this guy, you know? So when I hear his arguments, and if they're not convincing to me, then that tells me something about the rest of the arguments that I could possibly hear.
Right, but are you doing that so that you can find a defeater? Like, are you listening for not to actually truly evaluate where he's coming from, but to try to because I am going to get to this. Maybe I'll just mention it right now. Then there's been times like when I was in college that I got my butt absolutely handed to me in debates. And one time was by a teacher, and one time was another guy while I was at college. But that didn't make me change my mind, you know? It made me get even more ingrained in my way of thinking, because then what I thought at that point is I got to know these debates, these arguments, and I got to come up with defeaters for their arguments. So it kind of just ironically made me more entrenched in my way of thinking. I'm like, I got to research harder, you know? So that's what's kind of dangerous, I think, I find in debates. Would you agree with that?
I mean, it can be. I mean, it's about the honest, it's about the integrity, right? Like when you go looking for those defeaters and you think you found them, right? Are you evaluating them for their actual effectiveness? Are they a real defeater, or do they just seem like one? Is it just sound really good? And you're just like, oh yeah, this sounds good. This plays to my biases, so I'm just going to go ahead and run with this and forget even thinking any further. It's about, is it real critical thinking? And I'll be first to admit that I have biases, and I'm just a pure person like everybody else. So the defeaters that I've encountered, they very well may be, just something that plays to my biases.
So
the only way to know is to keep looking for more defeaters.
So it's at some point in the middle here, maybe we'll have like a little 10-minute face-off on a little brief debate, because it seems like with the thumbnail I created, that's something people want to see. So maybe to break this up, we'll do that if you don't mind.
Sure.
Do you mind?
No problem.
Okay.
No.
So we'll go to this next one. Second question is, do you think that the internet has had an overall net gain or a net loss as far as useful or meaningful discussion and debate? What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's a net loss.
Wow, you're the first person
far.
Net loss. Huh.
So far. Yeah, I mean,
mind elaborating?
I think that it has the potential to be a net gain. I still think that that's the case. But as far as, what are we counting here? We're talking about TikTok. We're talking about Instagram. We're talking about all the social media outlets, right? Right? I'm assuming. So, I mean,
yeah, the internet.
We're counting all the internet, right? I mean, 4chan, Reddit, there's so much discourse to count and think about. I mean, yeah, I'd have to say it's a net loss.
Yeah, well, you know what? I think we're starting to see the first generations, though, of people who have had this their whole lives, because I remember the internet wasn't really anything until, I remember I was in middle school, and we had an internet club, and this is back in the day when they used to have AOL. So the professor only got like 100 minutes a month. So we would talk about the internet for like 45 minutes, and then like 15 minutes we'd actually get on the internet. So it was kind of a funny thing. But I was already like 13, 14 years old. But I think about my daughter. My daughter gets my phone and she gets on it and she does all kind. She actually gets it and takes some really funny selfies. You'll see her like she has some really, but she's able to do all kinds of stuff now. And I think about we're starting to see just some of the negative side of that. Just smaller attention spans, and tied to honest truth. Just you already mentioned a little bit about narcissism. There's just a lot of narcissism, a lot of people taking selfies on everything, and then also just making videos. Lots of people want to be vloggers, or, you see some of the videos that they stage like on TikTok. It's like, do you really expect anyone to believe that that's actually real, that just happened right there?
Yeah.
It's such an absolute,
Yeah, I think it's important that we acknowledge that, even us, you and me, we have like this narcissistic tendency within us. There's something in us that makes us say, hey, I could open my mouth on the internet and people would give a shit, excuse my language, but
no, it's okay. Just try to watch
it has to be that way, otherwise nobody's going to advance at all. Somebody has to stand up and do something, but I mean, humility also has to be there also. That's the only way to temper it.
Well, there you go. You got RH, respect, humility, and empathy. I think having those three in conversations, even debates, I'm not entirely against debate. You know what I mean? I'm not like, it's not like I think it's the worst thing. It's not like it's the worst idea on it. My issue, though, is that I don't think that people really are trying to come to truth. They're trying to win the debate for the sake of another person losing the debate. You know what I mean? So there has to be a winner, there has to be a loser, and so I'm just curious though. Like, you've how many debates have you done online? Totally, like actual debates.
I'd guess like maybe 10. I'll guess 10. That's the number I'll throw out there.
Do you, in your own opinion, do you think that you've lost more or won more? Just curiosity. Be objective.
I don't know.
You don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I would say that I've done a good job. I've done a good job.
Get into that. What are the strategies of preparation do you use while preparing for debates? Do you like to research the other person?
I do like to at least watch a video or two of them just to get a feel for what kind of person I'm dealing with. But as far as the research goes, I'd like to depending on the question, of course, I like to get some studies under my belt, get some facts, of course, factitionless, right? I need to know like what relevant facts there are that I can argue about, and just get my thoughts in line, and then just write out a opening statement and present it. And then I just kind of see what they have to say, and I just try to engage with whatever they have to say honestly as I can.
Well, one thing I really appreciated in one of the other discussions you were doing is that you, at some point, because it was getting really contentious, but you took a step back and said, hey, I can see why you would hold this to this position. There is, if you present your side as being 100% logical and the other side is being 100% illogical or fallacious, that's not really honest, that's not a honest way of engaging. And especially, I don't know, one of the things with the internet, I found that people are instant to jump to questioning, one, your morality, two, your mental health, and then like, you know what I mean? They do that, and people have legitimate, mental health issues. I mean, I've struggled with mental health my entire life, and so to think that you would stigmatize that for the sake of like winning an argument it seems really disingenuous to me. But yeah, they talk about all kinds of stuff. Man, people have talked about my facial hair. Someone was talking about my headset. They're like, "Oh, you look like Princess Leia from Star Wars." I'm like, what does that have to do with anything? That's totally. They've literally even gone after my daughter. You got to see my daughter earlier. It's like, what does she have to do with this debate?
Yeah, the ad hominems are insane. I think that the only thing that we can do is just try to lead by example in that, just try to be the change you want to see in these debates. And the change that I want to see is people just being honest. I can't be the most intelligent person in the world. I can't be the most educated person in the world. I don't have the time. I don't have the resources. If I did, I would go get a PhD and all this shit, and I would come back and be the most educated motherfucker. I'm sorry.
Watch that one.
I'm sorry. I would come back and be the most educated dude in the debate sphere if I had the time and the resources to do that. But I don't have that. So I just try to be as honest as I can. And I think that's the change that if we had that change, the problems that you've identified and pointed out, those would be ameliorated by that. Just honest, open, humble discussions.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is what we try to do with this channel. Not that I accomplish it 100% of the time, because one of the things that I've learned most about doing this podcast, like interacting with atheists and Muslims and Jews and Hindus, is that I do not know a lot. I mean, what you were just talking about, it's really schooled me to the fact of how ignorant I actually am. I just did like a 3-part series with the LGBT member who's a plus member. It's like a bit of an activist. And a lot of stuff he told me I was just completely ignorant about. So there's a lot of room to learn. But I think in debates, though, that's the problem, is that you generally don't want to learn from that person or try to digest. And I think the best way I've heard it put is that you have to hold the person's idea in your head and try to evaluate it from their perspective, And I think if you do that, if you take the time to understand, like, why does this person actually believe this way? I think it might be very helpful. But okay, so I do want to switch this up real quick. And at what age did you become an atheist?
I think I was 23, 24, maybe.
And what were you? Anything before that?
I was so first I was a Jehovah's Witness. I was born into that. When my parents divorced.
Condolences.
When my parents divorced in 95, my mom took us into the Baptist church. So I became that until I became an adult. And when I was an adult, I just became this amorphous. I called it non-denominational Christian.
Amorphous?
Yeah.
I haven't heard that word.
I didn't have any kind of doctrine for my Christianity. I just had my beliefs, my own personal Christianity. And then that continued until I went to Iraq, came back from Iraq.
Really?
It kind of stayed there throughout.
Like vacation?
That. No,
the
military.
Thank you for your service. What branch?
Army, yeah.
Ain't ready to be a Marine yet.
No, yeah, right. Ain't ready to be a bullet sponge yet.
Oh God. Yeah. So, okay. So I do want to ask you something then. Seeing war firsthand, is that, I can imagine, because my cousin went to Iraq and he told me some of the stories of seeing his friends blown up or having to kill people like in close proximity, like inside of houses. And he told me about his PTSD, but I can imagine that that's something that could potentially push someone into atheism. Like, that's not an incredibly logically position, knowing that there's evil, like that's not really a logical position, but people don't always make choices based off rationality, So do you think that played any role in becoming an atheist?
Yeah, it definitely played a big role in it. But it wasn't the final thing. Like when I came back from Iraq, I had my doubts. I was definitely changed in my faith. It was definitely the first and biggest step and probably the most influential part of the whole process. But the final straw was when I enrolled in college at a Baptist university. And I took New Testament. Well, first I took Old Testament history. Then I took New Testament history in 2 different semesters. And when I finished those classes, I got the information I was looking for, and that information solidified my position as an atheist. And at that point was when I was sure. I was like, no, I don't believe this stuff anymore.
Actually, I had the same exact experience. I went to Bible college my freshman year, and after going through the survey of the Old Testament, that made me become an atheist. But again, that's not really a rational decision. Like, because even if Christianity is wrong, that doesn't say anything about another creator God out there. Like, people make the joke, okay, Christianity is not right, okay, therefore I'm an atheist. Well, that doesn't really follow.
Right. It does not follow that just because Christianity is false that there is no God.
Right.
That is correct.
So what do you? I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
What do you think is the best argument for atheism?
I think that the most effective thing is the argument from divine hiddenness. It's the argument that if God exists and God wants a relationship with me, then God would find a way to let me know.
That's it?
That's pretty much it, yeah. It's not formal, but
right.
I could formalize it.
No. It's all right. We don't need to be pedantic here, but the thing is, all right. Try to enter into the world of atheists for a quick second, okay? Because I will answer this from the perspective of, as a theist. But okay, so let's just assume that there's a God, okay? Just for the sake of argument, for the sake of brevity, just enter the theist world, okay? Would it make sense that God would reveal himself like as a father, like I have a relationship to my daughter, where I'm like, I could physically see my daughter and everything? Would that make sense to have like the entire time? To have that relationship?
The entire time?
Yeah, like okay, so my daughter's always known me, okay? She's never not known me. Okay? From the time she was born. In fact, she was born right in the Olympics, the Pyeongchang Winter Olympics. I had tickets to go down and see the games, and a couple hours before my wife goes into premature labor. So, I had to go back. She had to get C-section. But my daughter's, I've been there every step of the way. Okay. Now, you would say that that's I've been a good father to do that, correct?
Sure. Yes.
Okay. You hold on. Are you a father yourself?
Yes.
Okay. You have multiple kids? I just have.
Yeah. I got like 3. Yeah.
Whoa, lucky man. So okay. So the point is the point I'm trying to tell you this is that would it make sense then, for example, to God to create everybody in heaven, like with pristine perfection and just being there around you all the time? Like, would that make sense? Does that make logical sense?
Well, I don't see why it wouldn't.
Okay. So this is a little bit complicated because in Christianity, we're told that God is like maximally good, right? You've heard that expression?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if he is trying to achieve something such as perfection, goodness, whatever, it doesn't even make sense that God would create everything to. Oh, assalamu alaikum, Alejandro. It's one of my Muslim friends. But it doesn't make sense that that everything would be created perfectly and where you would have any kind of doubt whether or not God exists or not. Because the reason why is you wouldn't have, if you didn't experience cold, you didn't experience hot, you didn't experience the lack of a father being around, you would have no way to contrast that with the goodness of God. So it seems like to hide yourself for a while. I mean, you have eternity, you have billions of years to work this out. Hiding yourself for this period of time doesn't seem to be something that's illogical or immoral.
So you're saying that God needs to go through this process in order to achieve a goal,
a greater good. I would say
good.
That. Yeah.
And you're saying that it's a greater good to have suffering or some other negative thing that is overcome by this positive thing.
Yeah, Khaled, that's funny. That's one of my good friends right here, Khaled.
Yeah.
I would say that seems to be the best possible good. Whereas you would assume, hey, why does it because just try to follow the logic of Christianity for a second. God creates heaven, okay? He creates angels, he creates perfection. We're told in the Bible that there's not even the need for a son in heaven. Like, God is the air. God would be like air. So he's just everywhere. Okay. So you, in that kind of situation, would you have any kind of doubt? Would you have any kind of doubt that God actually exists if he's just everywhere around you? You know, would you be able to experience free will knowing that God's like right beside you? Like, think about how much free will you would exercise if your dad and mom followed you around everywhere in your life. That would suck, man. I came here to South Korea so I could do whatever the hell I wanted, you know? And we call
Yeah, yeah, I see your point. Like, yeah, the father's ever present, it's a coercion, right? Is what you're arguing about. You're arguing about a coercion element, right? That God could make you do what he wants, as opposed to you choosing, right? Am I following
I would say,
correctly?
yeah. I'm just saying, I know you don't believe in God, but that if just thinking about that actually makes sense. Like it makes more sense than to create everything perfectly. There's a logic behind it. And I will walk you through a little thought experiment later on if you want about what that might look like. But yeah, do you have any thoughts about that?
Well, I like, for instance, like, let's say, I don't know, I can't think of something like that is overcome by something that else that is good off the top of my head, but I just can't imagine why it's better for the thing to just be good. Why isn't it better for it to just be good in the first place? Why is it better that it's overcome by the other thing that you were just going for in the first place?
Well, okay, so are your parents around? Are they still alive?
Yeah, they're alive. Yeah.
Yeah. So my mom died 14 years ago, and I have a daughter here now. And I would think this, if I had seen my mom tomorrow and I had another day with her, or I would have, let's say, even eternity or another month or year, however long, the absence of not knowing my mom for 14 years, that would heavily influence the time that I'd have to, if I ever got to see her again. You know, there's so many things I want to tell my mom that I never got to tell her, you know, so many things that I process much later on, much later on. In fact, a lot of stuff didn't even make sense to me until I became a parent myself. So having some kind of gauge, like, I just think it gives you a gauge, you know, it gives you a gauge being a fallible person. I hope at some point
Contrast, right?
I'm removed from this body, and I don't have to sin, because I screw up all the time, man. I should say I F up a lot as a Christian. So I wish it were the case that I never did that, you know? But good.
Yeah, I see your point, but I'm just wondering why God couldn't just create the contrast initially. Why do you have to actually go through the process?
Okay, so again, we're in a different world, a God world, and in this scenario, we're like that would be the equivalent of moving a factor like that would have a butterfly effect, could have butterfly effects that are totally unimaginable for us. You know, like, we're processing things right now. We're trying to understand things around us. We don't know what either of those scenarios would look like. You know, we don't. So to me, it is a problem. Don't get me wrong. I think this is Christianity's biggest problem, because at the end of the day, it's like, it's my responsibility to take care of my daughter. Like, it's not, if my daughter thought you were her father, well, you and I would have some pretty big issues to work out, but that would be more of a reflection on me rather than you or my daughter. You know, it would be a failing on my part. So if he is out there, then it's incumbent upon him to find us. And I genuinely believe that that's what he's doing. He's calling people, he's finding people, and how that's going to work out in the end, that'd be like trying to explain trigonometry. I'm an ant. I have the slightest idea. I don't profess to know maybe a quarter of Christian theology, you know. But if God is out there, if he is out there, he has to be accomplishing something that's a lot bigger than us, that we're going to be able to understand.
What do you think it is?
Redeeming humanity, redeeming everybody. In my personal opinion, it seems like if God is all powerful, he could redeem everybody. That seems like it'd be the greatest good. Why?
What would be the point of that? Like, he has the power to just say, with a flick of his wrist, or with the utterance of a word, with the thought of the firing of one synapse or whatever the God version of a synapse is.
Mm-hmm.
He could just say, "You're redeemed."
Yeah.
I mean,
well, okay. So then I'll walk you through a little thought experiment for a second, and then we'll get back to these questions. Okay.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
You ready for this? Okay. So I will tell you. Okay, I'll start this off by saying, as a child, the scariest thing in my mind would be to exist for eternity. When I used to process that used to scare the living bejesus out of me. That maybe doesn't seem very scary, but to not have a way to gauge like a beginning to the end and just kind of being stuck in somewhere in between, it scared the living you-know-what out of me, processing that as a kid. So if you think about this for a second, if you were up in heaven, imagine like just time not passing at all. Try to imagine what that might feel like, and try to imagine a scenario maybe like you're in an art gallery. I've heard kind of like a paganist describe this, and I don't think this is accurate, or I don't know if this is accurate or not, but it was an interesting thought experiment. But think about like you're walking through a gallery and you can see various how do you call it, pictures. Okay, this person's life would be. So you would have options to actually experience the flowing of time, because whenever you're there stuck in that, like, you can't really process the time. You know what I'm saying? Like,
you were breaking up there, the end right there.
Like, you can't process the flowing of time because you're existing for eternity. So you would want to go jump into one of those things and experience empathy from someone else's perspective to understand, how could this person be a killer, or how could this person be a Donald Trump, or a terrorist or whatever. But isn't that an interesting thought experiment, though, that would be the only way you could actually have an experience of time flowing? What do you think about that?
It's interesting.
It is, right?
The idea that a mind can exist outside of time seems incoherent to me.
Mm-hmm.
A thought, it seems to me that a thought requires a change from one state to another. Like, you can't think anything without some kind of change happening. Like,
I know, that's what I'm saying.
So like, for a God to have any kind of thoughts requires time. So a God can't exist to me, in my opinion. It just seems to me that a God can't exist without time. So he couldn't have created time. So he couldn't have created time, because his thoughts couldn't have happened outside of time. It takes time for thoughts to happen.
Well, Christians love to use the cosmological argument and try to think that that's the defeater for atheism. But I got to say, like, it ultimately comes back down to, well, you could just invert those kind of arguments back onto the Christian, and you don't, like, you kind of like, are you Mexican, by the way? You kind of look Mexican.
No.
Or are you white?
I'm half black, half white.
Okay, well, that's Mexican then. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. No, I get it.
But no, it's like a Mexican standoff, right? I'm Mexican, so you're like in a Mexican standoff, like you get into impasses, because, like, I'm not sure if you've ever heard of the evil God hypothesis, but that Cosmic Skeptic did a really good video on that one, and it basically inverts all of, like, the Christian arguments back on itself, by saying you could actually make the case of God being an immoral, evil person using the same exact line of reasoning that Christians use. So, I mean, it's interesting. It's interesting to invert arguments on themselves, like the moral argument, for example. So, okay, let me ask you one quick question before we go on. What do you think is the strongest argument for the existence of a God?
For the existence of God.
Yeah, that could be relatively speaking. Maybe they're all weak, but what do you think is the strongest?
I guess the teleological argument, the argument for intelligent design.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. I think that there are aspects of reality that do seem a little too convenient.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a great way to put that one. What do you think is a good? Because until really recently, I would have thought that's an argument as well, a good argument. But from listening to some atheist call-in shows like the Atheist Experience and Talk Heathen, which is a personal favorite of mine. Do you know Talk Heathen?
Oh yeah, list them all.
Yeah, Eric Murphy came on the shows. Actually, you know who just came on? Holy Kool-Aid, man. I was like totally fanboying out for that guy.
Yeah,
But
he was a good guy.
they have some really good encounters for that. In the past,
yeah.
I would have thought that. I mean, I'll be honest with you. The reason why I don't debate people is because even if you get convinced of a God, like me, I got completely convinced that there was a God. And it didn't change my life one iota. I got even worse as a person. I went more out of my way to sleep with Christian women and use more drugs. And it made me into a worse person. So it's not so much a matter of just being convinced of something. Like you have to have an experience that's life-changing, a born again, a come to Jesus type moment. So it doesn't matter. I could beat the living shit out of you in this debate, but that's not going to make any ounce of difference in your life unless you actually experience God yourself. You know, it's not going to make one iota of difference if I destroy you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get what you mean. I do. It's interesting. I think that the value that religion gives us, there are truths that are embedded in the Bible, in the Quran, in any book, really, because people live real lives and they experience real things, and they just can't help but be impressed by the truth of reality, and they record it in books. So I mean,
right.
There's true moral guidance in there. There's lessons to be learned, and there are ways. If you live your life according to the Bible, assuming that everybody around you is also Christian, then you will live a happy life because you have a community that will support you, and you have a moral system that answers all the questions that you don't have to ask yourself anymore. So I mean, I don't deny that there are certainly good things about Christianity. It's just that, is it based on a real God? Is the God there a real thing that I can actually hang my hat on? And that's the part I'm not convinced of,
I mean, yeah, I totally get that. And I will tell you this, that as an atheist, this might seem totally bizarre to you, but as an atheist, I got like all the world religions tattooed on me, like head to toe. I mean, I was really fascinated. Like this is me in Palestine, if you could believe that.
Wow.
But I went and stayed at a mosque for like a week, and South Korea, I went and stayed with the Buddhists because at a Buddhist temple to learn about Buddhism. They said I'd make a great monk, by the way. Just throwing that out there. The hair, but what fascinated me more than, I didn't believe that it was true, but the anthropology behind it, of people trying to make sense of the world around them. And even if there's like, okay, we'll worship a frog or a rock or something like that, that to me just spoke volumes. Because even if atheism, let's just assume atheism is true, that's a pretty damn bleak reality to accept. Like you're being flung across the universe. Everywhere around you is something that wants to kill you, solar flares, black holes, asteroids, and you're being flung across the universe, and you and everybody is going to die, and many of them are going to suffer excruciating deaths. Like that's pretty bleak. Now you might experience that and say, oh, well, I'm going to enjoy my time or whatever, but that could be pretty crippling to some people. So the fact that you would want to make something up just seems like a logical thing to want to do, even if it wasn't true. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, the only thing is, like, to me, all that stuff is still true under Christianity. It's just that God set it up on purpose. And that's even worse.
Yeah. I mean, Christian theology is not without its share of flaws. I mean, there is a lot of things that if everything is literally true, exactly the way it's recorded, there's some really big problems that you got to digest. Now, Mormon theology takes Christianity and it just adds in a few little spices.
You said Mormon?
And it took Mormonism.
Okay.
Like, let's just say, for example, okay. This is a really good example to what I was telling you about earlier, because according to Mormonism, we were already born in heaven. And so we were already born in perfection. And we couldn't get to the next level unless we came down and had a physical body experience. So their solution to the problem of evil makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense. And even God being perfect, even after you die, he's going to give you multiple chances to come to him, you know? So Christians are like, okay, either you die, either you know him or you don't whenever you die, and then you're either going to heaven or hell, like forever. You're like, so I'm going to be judged for billions, trillions of years based off how I behaved for like 30, 40, 50, 60 years. You know what I mean? It just doesn't really seem logical at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I get it. All
There's
these
some
newer
problems.
I mean, when you have the past to look at and you have all the failed prophecies,
Right.
the old arguments to look at and analyze, it's a lot easier to buttress your own uh, religious ideology and make it seem like I don't know if you've listened to a lot of Islamic debates
A
with
few.
atheists, or have you listened to any Muslim versus Christian debates?
A
But
few.
they
Is it black?
often come all across like they're kind of winning, you know. And it's because the Quran was written after the Bible, so they have the benefit of like 600, a little bit more years of time and actual human experience to say, okay, there's a few things here that didn't work. We can change things here and there and make it work a little bit better when they reinvent this wheel.
Yeah, that's totally makes sense. But out of curiosity, is the black Hebrew Israelite, are they Jews or are they Muslims?
So I thought they were, pseudo Jewish, right? But that the guy that I debated in that debate, I mean, tell me if you heard it differently. But from what I understand, from what he said in that debate, I got the impression that there are at least some uh, black Hebrew Israelite Christians and black Hebrew Israelite Muslims and black
Wow.
Hebrew Israelite, etc. I did
Wow.
not know that before, but that's what
Yeah.
it seemed that he impressed that upon me in that debate.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody should probably go back and look at that and double check what I'm saying there. But that's what it
Yeah.
seemed like.
I got to put a link to that. I was laughing. I was more laughing about your reaction like half the time. These guys are going at each other. But okay, let's go to question number 4. Does it ever cross your mind in a debate that you may be wrong or that your position may be untenable?
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, I was debating vegan gains, and he asked me some question that I can't remember what it was right now, but like totally, I was like, you know what? Yeah, that's a good point. Um, I'm not sure how I would respond to that, if I should respond to that. So let's just leave that at that. I'm probably wrong. Whatever. I'm not even sure how that whole thing played out, but yeah, that happens. Yeah, for sure.
Wait, he was vegan?
Yeah, he was vegan. Yeah.
Mm. So, okay. So in a moment, whenever you're realizing something that maybe there's some holes or logic, there's some fallacies, or maybe inaccurate facts or whatever that you might hold to, what is your response? What is your response to that? Like, how do you process that? Or even to say, like, Jesus, like, maybe I don't know if I could, I may be wrong on this. Like, what is your knee jerk response to that?
Oh well, the knee jerk response is to is to go into debater mode and just be like, "You're wrong," and you just come up with some shit off the top of your head. But I think I'm pretty good at suppressing that. So my actual response is to just take a second, think, and just say, "Okay, um, I need to think about that more. I need some more information. Just defer the moment until later, until I can have more time to think about it. And if I have no answer, then just say I don't know.
So you're comfortable with saying that, those 3 words? I don't know. Very powerful.
No, that's the most important thing, man.
And how do you find it to be an assault on your like pride or manhood to have to admit that you're wrong on something? Does that ever play a role? Like just the ego thing?
It definitely plays an ego thing for sure. But fuck that, man. Right? That's what I'm here to change.
Please,
right?
No F-bombs, please.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Sorry. It happens. Shit happens.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ego. The ego is irrelevant. I have to try to do everything I can to disregard what my ego wants me to do, because I have more important things I'm worried about, like being a better person.
Right, there you go. Yeah, people get too caught up in the debate. Then there's just also just being a decent human, as you said. You know what I mean? Being a compassionate person. Whereas, have you ever read How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie?
No, haven't. Sorry.
So that book is like the Bible of human communication. And he says in there, the reason why you shouldn't debate people. And he says, because you're in a lose-lose situation. He says, because if you lose the debate, well, you've just lost, you've lost, the other person is victorious. But he says, even if you win the debate, you have destroyed the person's pride. Like, you know what I mean? And so that's not a good way to build a barrier, a bridge to the person. It's building up a barrier. So he says they might come to resent you as a result of that. Like I have just totally destroyed people in debates, and I'm such an arrogant person. I'm such a prideful person. I want to throw it in their face, And I think that's just kind of like, we just ran or play basketball. You play basketball? You said you don't play sports?
I like to play them, but I don't like to watch them.
Oh,
but
okay.
Not don't play them that much if you see how fat I am.
Well, I don't know. I can only see from your neck down. Yeah. All right. So yeah, I think that can be a problem right there. If you see it as like a challenge to win someone, then what happens when you win? You gloat, you want to throw it in the face. You want to proclaim yourself as like their position being right. But the reality is that doesn't say anything about your position being right. That's just something about the intelligence or the debating level of the person you encountered. Because, I mean, I'm pretty sure you would agree with this, that you would lose a debate with William Lane Craig, right?
No.
You genuinely think you could beat someone who has multiple PhDs in a debate?
I think depending on the subject, I could be.
Well, I'll tell you this. I don't have any illusions about this. Sam Harris would rip me a new one, and I would take it. I would be happy about it, because that guy is like a genius, So I don't have any illusion I could take on a Sam Harris or a Dawkins. I know those guys would eviscerate me, but that doesn't say anything to whether or not Christianity is true or not, or atheism is true or not. That has to do with the person who's debating their ability, so people conflate those two.
No, I totally get it, man. Like just the other day, I was arguing with somebody on Facebook, and I pointed out that they were misunderstanding something, and they accepted my argument and admitted that they were right.
Really?
So what I did was I edited my comment and took out the first sentence where I said, "You seem to be misunderstanding." It was just a little bit too snarky, because to make your point, about how when you win the debate, sometimes you hurt their pride, and then they don't want to come to your side. I feel that you're right. Like sometimes we're just too boastful, right? It's good to just take it a step back, and just because you're right doesn't mean you have to rub their face in it.
And for the record, I'm not the person who said that. I'm not as smart to come up with all this psychology. What this guy did to write that book was he took like the most influential, like 150, like most influential people who've existed, like Jesus, Abraham Lincoln, Martin Luther. No, probably not. Martin Luther King. Yeah, because this was before that. But he took all these great thinkers and he just basically presents their ideas. And so he says right from the beginning, this isn't like my ideas here. I'm not presenting this as I'm an intelligent guy. He just looked to everywhere, China. He quotes a lot of like Lao Tzu in there. So I've lived in Asia 10 years now, and I'll tell you, there's a lot of stuff as Westerners we can learn from them. They have a lot of.
I like the Tao Te
talk
Ching.
about the gun debate. What was that?
I like the Tao Te Ching.
Oh, what's that exactly?
The Taoism.
Oh, look, I got this. I was talking about all the world. I mean, I have everything. Islam, got a bunch of Egyptian tattoos and stuff. So that was a different life ago. All right, I have 2 more questions.
Okay.
Has losing a debate ever made you reconsider your position, or do you feel a need to double down or study harder? I kind of touched on that earlier.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I've ever I mean, I know I've reconsidered positions. I don't know if it was the direct result of being beaten in a debate, like he got beat. But for sure, yeah, I've had reconsidered my position based on debates many times. Yeah. What was the other part?
Do you ever feel a need to double down or study harder? Because I genuinely believe this.
No, I always feel a need to double down. It's
Okay.
a thing you have to resist. It's not something that you just do. You're always feeling that way. It's something you have to fight actively to not do it.
So have you ever changed your mind then from a debate?
Oh yeah. I used to share this idea that the knife violence had skyrocketed in the UK because of the ban on guns. Yeah, and I found out that was total BS because of a debate, and changed my mind on that totally. Don't say that no more.
Yeah, you know what? You invited me on your topic, your talk to discuss guns, and I was telling you I live in South Korea, so there's nobody has guns here, and it's a weird feeling I live in east side of Bakersfield, California. There's a lot of gangs and drugs and meth, and man, you cannot walk around at 4 o'clock in the morning. You'll get beat up. If you're lucky, you'll get beat up. Worst case scenario is a lot worse could happen to you. But here it's like you could walk around with a T-shirt that says "I love Kim Jong-un" on it, and probably nothing's gonna happen to you. You know what I mean? Like you'd probably pass out with $100 in your hand, and you wake up with that thing still intact. I've lost stuff on subways and stuff. And one time I lost this bag that had my digital camera and CDs and all kinds of stuff in it. And I wrote it off, but my bank card is actually in there. So man, they a month later, they just called me up and they were like, they went to the bank and then, I was canceled. They got my number. They called me. I went there and got everything. It is amazing the level of respect. Take, for example, Japan as well. When the hurricane and the tsunami swept through there wasn't any looting or rioting or anything like that. They're known as being, they're called the country of the morning calm. And so they took care of the old people, the young people, and they did it in a very organized and civil manner. And so I genuinely believe that we could learn so much from them as a society. So
I'd like to hear more about that sometime. That's very interesting.
Yeah, so I would love to really untangle the gun thing with you. I'd love to have you back second time.
Yeah,
You're
for sure.
Totally. I mean, I'm not sure if you saw some of the chats that were going on here. People talking quite a bit about me, but
no.
Yeah. Well, you can take a look at that later on. That's how atheists. I shouldn't say atheists, but a lot of atheists love to do that. They love to just attack you on a personal level. As I said, you see my daughter. They've gone after my daughter. I mean, I've been in groups where they're talking about my daughter's going to grow up to be a prostitute and stuff like that. That I'm not even my daughter's father. Really, we can't rise above that, and have a civil conversation.
No, I've learned that when it comes to being online, that toxic people are just everywhere. It doesn't matter what group that you're in. You think that the idea that atheists are some kind of a logical demographic, it's just total BS. It's not even close to true. It's just we happen to agree on one simple question, and that's
Right.
it.
And I just personally, I positively don't. I don't think that Christians should engage in debate with atheists because that's real. First of all, it's not even the core issue at hand, in my opinion. The bigger issue is the way Christians behave, because you could have the truth and you could be, you know what I mean, and people aren't going to want to hear you out. It's just as simple as that. So it's more a matter of how you're presenting and how you're treating people. At the end of the day, it's like, I don't want to be treated like garbage. I'm not going to treat someone online like garbage. I know what it's like. I'm very empathetic because I totally know what it's like to be an atheist, because I was one for 10 years. And so I know that people don't always come to these by logical conclusions. Now, you can. I'm not saying people don't, but that is not always. You might use logic, but that's a secondary issue. There's something else that's going on there. And from doing this podcast, I have been able to connect to a lot of people, sharing our traumas, connecting with traumas from our past that help us to humanize each other. I think at the end of the day, to understand that my favorite quote, I will go on to the last one, but
I just want to point out that you asked me, how'd you ask me how I became a Christian, or what kind of Christianity I was in before I became an atheist, or how did you ask me that question? The answer to that is I was born into the Jehovah's Witnesses, remember?
Right.
So
right.
I certainly didn't come to Christianity by anything even remotely resembling anything like logic.
Right. Yeah,
So
you're right.
I just wanted to put that on the table.
I was a minister's kid, so I totally get that. But I was as blasphemous as, alcoholic, womanizing as you could freaking get. I would leave my house Friday mornings and not get home till Sunday night. That was like the average weekend here, So I was out there myself. I had to go through my spiritual journey, and along the way, Christians would say things about me, but that's not what I needed. Like, I had mental health issues, I had addiction issues, I had parent issues. You know what I mean? A lot of stuff going on in my life, and so for me, I just try to meet people where they're at and try to treat them with respect and so on. But I do want to get into this last. Absolutely, I do want to get into this last question. How do you feel about a one-on-one? Oh God, what do you think about that? That format, or a 2-on-2, or a 1-on-1? Like, because I got it. Hold on, I'm gonna link the debate that you got in, because there was a one-on-one, and I have been in a conversation like that with an atheist and a guy who was like a pantheist, and like the alliances were constantly like switching. Like, it was so crazy, because I'm like, okay, I'm agreeing with this guy, but then he has this other view, and so we're like switching. And I told you I like watching WWE, so I like watching. I know I'm a growing baby, but very immature, but I still love it. But they sometimes have matches like that, and they're really interesting to watch. One out, because there's no out alliances. So, but anyway, what are your thoughts on that?
So I think that the best thing is a biased moderator.
Biased,
or two biased moderators. I think
What's
that triple threat is a good. I like triple threat. The one that we did, I liked it. I thought that it was good for me as the debater. I thought it was good for the overall pursuit of truth, as far as getting to see all these different ideas in juxtaposition and not have to be so heavily influenced by the rhetoric, because there was so much different spice from different positions, right? But I really do not like tag team. I don't like tag team at all.
Like a 2-on-1?
Worst. Yeah, 2-on-2. I don't like 2-on-2 at all. I mean, 2-on-1 is like obviously unfair, but like 2-on-2, I think is just totally dumpster fire, not productive. I think somebody's always getting shut out, and it's just like I don't like it. Sorry for everybody who likes it.
Do you personally prefer a one-on-one?
I do like a one-on-one. I do think that there does need to be somebody else involved in the conversation, though. I think that there should not be just two people talking to each other just because.
Oh, hey, man, what's up? What you got against me? No, I'm just kidding.
I think that people need to have another perspective to bounce things off of when the two people get stuck.
Yeah. Actually, like I have seen Hitchens in the past, Hitchens and Harris participate in some like debates, but it's not at all debates. They're more just conversations, but they definitely did have moderators there,
Yeah.
Where it's like, because, and the other part of that too is like whenever you have times and stuff, you could not always make the points that you need to make, like it just can just come up that you just don't get to finish a point. So that's a little bit easier to do in like a conversation type setting, like what we're having right now, right?
Right, definitely. Yeah. I don't like having to be neutral sometimes on the moderator side. I don't like having to be neutral because I feel like it would be much more helpful to the conversation and to the pursuit of truth if the moderator was more active in it. But, trying to be neutral and fair means, being hands off, and then once you do start putting your hand in that pot and you start stirring, where do you stop? But yeah.
So I do have a quick theological question. I'm about to wrap up right now. Would you mind answering this theological question for me? Do you know what the difference between a Baptist and a Presbyterian is? Because you said you went to Baptist University.
Well, Baptists believe that you have to be baptized to go to heaven, I believe. And Presbyterians, don't they do the speaking in tongues?
No, you're thinking about Pentecostal.
No, I don't know anything about Presbyterians.
Right, I'll tell you. So, Baptist theology, though. So the difference is the major one, just so you know in the future, that the Presbyterians wave to each other in the liquor store.
Gotcha.
No, I have a friend who's a Baptist minister, and I just talked to him the other day, and I said that joke, and he says, well, the Baptists are really happy about the coronavirus because they all get to walk into the liquor stores and not get recognized with the mask.
Yeah, right.
They're really big on that. Like I socially drink here, so it's not really that big of a deal. But finally, I would like to close out now, but if you could tell me how I could find you and what exactly you're doing right now, that is a badass. You totally blow my little ridiculous brick wall over. What is that you got back there, man?
It's a $10 green sheet from Walmart, man.
And obviously you're just projecting something. Like, how do you do that?
It's OBS. Free software online. OBS.
Wow, you got to show me that.
Oh yeah, totally.
That's totally badass. You should get a Matrix one. Get a Matrix one. That'd be really tight.
Yeah. Might be a little too cliche by this point, though, right? What do you think?
Well, the fourth one just came out. And I have it here. I got to finish watching it, but it might be a little relevant.
Let me know when you see it.
Is it good?
Let me know. I'm not going to say anything else. Let me know when you see it. We'll talk about it then.
The first part was interesting.
I'm not going to say anything else.
All right, where can I find you?
Okay, I'm on Twitter at Factitionalist and Instagram at Factitionalist. YouTube, I don't know what my URL is, but Factitionalist.
All your links are there. Your links are all down there. But can you tell me like what you're doing with your channel?
So I do debates, discussions. I've got a discussion I'm working on for I think next week, with Kay Fellows and Cindy Plaza on abortion. That's the only thing I've got in the works right now. I've got Mr. Delicio, Yahweh or your way or the Yahweh, your way or Yahweh. That's his name of his channel. He does 7. He believes in the proof of God is the 7-day calendar.
Oh God, dude! Oh my God,
bringing him back.
That is the stupidest. There's gradients of the stupidest arguments. Like there's a guy named Montangelo. Do you know that guy?
Oh, I know Montangelo. Yes. I don't know him, but I know of him.
But he says that the Shroud of Turin is proof of Jesus, and I'm like, in the best case scenario, let's just assume that that's real. The best case scenario is that somebody got wrapped in this a long time ago. Like, what is that? How does that prove that it's one Jesus or that he resurrected? You know what I mean? Like, it's the most illogical. That is literally the Shroud of Turin is number one. The second one is like transcendental argument. That is easily the stupidest argument I've ever heard in defense of Christianity. But the third one is that seventh day. That is the most nonsensical argument I've ever heard in my life, man.
I try not to badmouth my guest.
Well, not him, but talk about the argument. The argument makes no sense.
Well, I do want him to come on my channel. I do want to talk to him about it. So
I'm a Christian, but I don't understand how that proves that. But yeah. Anyway, I do want to tell you one quick thing. We support 5 nonprofits here, so I'm going to give you a chance. We'll make a donation under name. One is a North Korean refugees in South Korea. Second one is single mothers in South Korea. Third one is LGBTQ plus. There's too many letters right now for me to remember them all, but an anti-bullying campaign for them. We also got a Nazi deconversion guy who's Jeff Scoop. He ran like the largest Nazi organization for 27 years, and he wound up coming out of that movement by a guy by the name of Gerald Davis, just sitting down and talking to him as an equal, trying to understand where he was coming from. And eventually he wound up leaving that movement, but it wasn't from getting punched. He's a Nazi. It wasn't from punching a Nazi. It wasn't from being argued against someone trying to understand him and treating him with compassion is how he got out of it. So he does great work to help people leave the hate groups right now. And then the last one is Israeli-Palestinian peace organization. I've been in the home and former terrorist in Palestine who works now with the children of slain civilians, the parents. And so they work together for peace. So I'll run through those again real quick. North Korea refugees, South Korean single mothers, anti-LGBT bullying, Nazi deconversion, or Israeli-Palestinian peace organization. Which one of those sound interesting to you?
God dang, man.
I know. Hey, you know what? I like you. Choose two. I like you. I really like you. Actually, you mind if I feature you on my channel as one of the featured channels? Would you mind that?
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate.
I really like your content.
I really
like you. Yeah. Totally.
I'm gonna go with
two. You can
single mothers and LGBT.
All right. There we go. Yeah, my mom was a single mother for some time before she met my dad, and I do want to say one thing. I didn't want to call you out on this, but you were terribly wrong about one thing that you had to say.
Let me guess.
Okay, you got it. Okay. Hey, yeah. But you know what? I really, really appreciate your time. You are a gem as far as people who are in your side of the aisle, because there is a lot of abusive stuff that's out there, and you are like a diamond shining out there in the rough. So I really appreciate you having this conversation with me. Really do.
Well, thank you.
And we're going to send you out a Starbucks card, and hope you enjoy that. Maybe have a little frappuccino or something like that, because it's getting pretty damn hot. I see you sweating your butt off, so maybe that'll help cool you down. All right, and we're going to leave you with this. Yeah, absolutely. You can find all of his links down below, and check us out, subscribe, and all that. We'll leave you with this outro. And if you can stick around for 1 minute just to say goodbye. And then
one more thing. I'll be on Atheist's Republic of Cape Town Facebook live sometime this morning, coming up a little bit. Tomorrow morning.
You're on Central. Wait, you're on Central Time or you're on Eastern Time?
Eastern.
Okay. All right. Gotcha. Maybe we'll put a link for that. Okay, here we go. If you send me the link, I'll put it down there. All right, but here we go. All right. So that wasn't the right one. I mean, I got too caught up in this conversation. Okay, here we go.